It's the Arch Advocate Show for Wednesday, August 8th. Welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for your patronage. That's what showing up is called, man. Hit subscribe, hit share, hit like, hit retweet, all that stuff, man. It helps. Thanks for doing that. It literally, the least you could do. It's pressing a button, man. How hard is that? Copy, paste. You don't even have to do that. You just hit that share button, man. Hey, shout out to all the patrons and the PayPal folks that support this show. I really appreciate that. And I also appreciate when you guys write to me, right? It feeds the show, right? It gives me something to talk about. When you voice your concerns and your thoughts about these times, like that's what this show is about, man. It's trying to make sense of all this. And I can do it without you. I don't want to do that though. I don't want to sit here and just pontificate on like my thoughts about the world. Like I want your involvement. I want to be able to talk to you because these are unprecedented times, right? Not people go crazy, right? You can go through all history and see people go crazy, but man, never before has there been this added element of we can see everybody at the same time. Right? We've never had so much information pouring into our brains. And like Mike and I were talking about the other day, our DNA can't handle it, man. This is too new. You know, it's a brand new thing. Now, look, there's a number of things I want to get to. One, I got a lot of messages about, the Alex Jones fiasco. I want to talk about that. Rosie O'Donnell was on TV. I want to talk about that. It's like, Rosie O'Donnell, who? Was Gil Gerard not available? Was Gil Gerard in an important meeting in Hollywood pitching Buck Rogers the movie, right? Directed by Anthony Scorsese. You know what I mean? Was Tony Danza not available? Was he too busy baking a lasagna? Why is Rosie O'Donnell on television? She was a lady that was in a couple of movies because she was fat and adorable. You know what I mean? Like that was why she got to be on TV, or not even on TV, but on screen. And then she had this crappy show for a couple years. But it's like you are like the very definition of a not only a has-been, but almost like a never was. Like you're lucky you even have money, lady. You know what I mean? I hope you saved some of that stakeout money and the Rosie O'Donnell show money. Like, I hope you saved some of that money because there's no career for that lady. And now you're on TV in 2018 when you haven't shown your face in like a generation. Why is CNN? It's like, this is the most magnificent thing is that you're at the bottom of the barrel. And this is what I want to talk about. Like there's some people out there, right? And this goes to, I want to write down, like get back to Rosie O'Donnell. Let me just write that down so I don't forget. Rosie, that's all I'm writing down. So that's the note I'm making. Now listen, this is the Arch Advocate Show. I am I'm an advocate for all the wonderful things about the human condition, right? And for every wonderful thing in the human condition, there is another side to it. There's the holy side to it and the profane. And everything that's good and right about humanity, it has another side, right? Like that whole idea of the yin and yang, you know? Now, one of the things that's wonderful and beautiful and helps mankind along is that you can have 10 different people looking at the same thing, right? Call it an object. You can have 10 different people looking at one thing, and all 10 people will see something different. That's beautiful, and it's progress, right? Like, take the flying machine, right? The Wright brothers figured out, aerodynamics to such a degree that they were able to lift off and fly for a little while. But you know that the flying machine is actually, the concept is thousands of years old, right? You can see it in Egyptian hieroglyphs. You can see it, and then you get into, Leonardo da Vinci, and he had ideas for a flying machine that never worked. Now, a lot of people looked at that and said, well, obviously, this doesn't work. Obviously. This doesn't work, man. Mankind is never going to fly because all these people tried it and they couldn't figure it out. Leonardo da Vinci was one of the smartest people who ever lived. And he couldn't figure it out. How dare you be so presumptuous to think that you could, a couple of farmers from Iowa could figure it out, right? But that's the thing, is that other people came and looked at that and they're like, oh no, I see it a little differently. And because of that, we now can fly to the other side of the planet in 14 and a half hours, or faster if you have the money and they start rebuilding the Concorde. But that's the point, is that that's beauty. You know what I mean? That's a beautiful part of the human experience. You can take, like if you ever saw the movie about Michelangelo, I think it was Cecil B. DeMille did that, the same guy that did the Moses movie, the Ten Commandments. I think it was him. And who was it? Oh, shoot. Was it Charlton Heston that played Michelangelo? Anyways, right, like they could cut a block of wood or a block of marble out of the mountain, and everybody looks at that and says, oh, okay, well, that's going to be a cornerstone, or that's going to be, somebody's pavement on their road or whatever. Michelangelo comes along and says, well, I see Moses. I'm going to carve Moses out of that. And I'm going to carve King David out of that. It's like without that concept, we don't progress, and we don't have art, and we don't have, you know what I mean? Like if we remove that part of humanity, of our essence, we lose everything. And every invention of man, in one way, shape, or another, can be attributed to that. It's beautiful and glorious, but it's also horrifying. You know what I mean? I'm writing a book right now. See that list back there? That's the list of stuff I got to write. I'm writing a book right now about like growing up in Christianity. It's like there's all these lessons that Jesus taught that were absolutely shocking, and they horrified people. People were horrified when Jesus spoke. And the idea is like, man, if you're not horrified when you hear those same teachings, then perhaps, I'm not saying this is the way of it, but perhaps you did not hear what those people heard. If you are not horrified and terrified and shocked, maybe you didn't hear it right. Maybe. I'm just saying, those people were, you're not. So, you know what I mean? And the idea that people growing up in Christianity, it's like all these people are listening to the same things I'm listening to, and I'm like, man, I'm getting something totally different out of this than you're getting. How is this possible? How is this possible? What's the deal with Scripture? Right? And looking around, like take that into consideration when you're looking around at these times. And I say all that to say this, like I got a lot of mail yesterday, private messages and whatnot, people saying like, man, this thing with Alex Jones, like, and most people, they're not even Alex Jones fans. Like I said yesterday on the show, like I've never really watched InfoWars. I mean, from time to time I did, but I've never really been a big fan of Alex Jones. He's he's a larger than life figure. I don't really, that doesn't really work on me. I don't like that, but whatever, That's not the point of yesterday's show. A man's voice was silenced by big tech. That's a problem. And so I got a lot of emails not saying, oh yeah, I defend Alex Jones. In fact, quite to the contrary. I got a lot of emails saying like, yeah, I don't really like Alex Jones, but man, this is scary. And that word, scary, frightening, that was a very common theme in all of yesterday's messages and emails. Frightened, scared, pensive, apprehensive, whatever word you want to use there. And I want to talk about that because, you should be afraid. However, as I said on a different show, fear is either going to push you down or it will inspire you to courage, right? That's why you should take comfort in the scriptures when it says, do not be fearful, but be courageous, be very courageous. Courage comes from fear, right? Courage is when fear is converted to power, right? And power that moves you forward instead of beating you down on your knees, right? And so I want to talk about that because that's the essence of the show. Fear will drive you crazy if you let it. if you don't control it, if you don't face it, right? If you don't face that dragon, it will devour you, right? We have to slay our dragons, and then we get the gold and the girl, right? Like Jordan B. Peterson talks about. Let's talk about that fear. Let's break it down and find out what we're actually afraid of, right? That's why I talk about, like, look at these things economically, right? That's one way that I defuse fear. You may have your method, right? Everybody's got their own method. My personal way of reducing it and taking the power out of the fear is by looking at it economically, all right? There's economics to everything, right? When you see, like when these socialists, they talk about like, oh, we need to raise the minimum wage, right? And they don't, they don't think like, well, if you raise the minimum wage, then what happens? Oh, well, these people will have more money. Yes, they will, but what else? What else happens? Well, they get to buy more stuff. Okay, all right. What else? What else happens? Well, I don't know. It just becomes a better world. Well, no. Economics doesn't work like that. Economics is the easiest way to prove the butterfly effect, right? If you do one thing, 1,000 other things happen. You raise the minimum wage for fast food employees, then the restaurant raises their price. Then everybody who frequents that restaurant pays more. Then everybody who frequents that restaurant who paid more now has less money in their pocket, right? And on and on and on. It's the same concept as like, well, you want to raise the minimum wage. Well, let's take it like this. You're also talking about raising people's taxes, raising the taxes on people who make over, $80,000 a year. Oh, because they're in the top 8%. Right? Because whenever they say the 1%, that's not who they're going after. They want to get that top, it's actually the top 20% of earners in America, like anybody who makes over $60,000 a year, they want to tax the piss out of them. So think about this. You've got somebody who's now working 60 hours a week. And now they're being taxed harder. They have the same expenses, but now they have less money to pay their bills. And they'll say, well, they owe it to everybody. It's like, no, actually they owe their bank for their mortgage. They owe their bank for their car note. They owe, the lady at the daycare center. They owe a bunch of people, and you're not one of them, right? Those people are beholden to their own families. You know what I mean? And you say, well, we can just tax them and that'll be all right. It's like, no, there's other effects that it has, and you can break it down and use the numbers because mathematics it's like the universal language. You can break it down to the math so that everybody understands. You can take that's why Bernie Sanders and Miss Cortez, like, it's why they don't make any sense when they get in these interviews, because it's like, you talk about raising taxes, but then what? But you know what I mean? What happens when you raise the minimum wage and everybody, all these business owners have to raise their price to the customers? Now you have less customers because people only have so much disposable income. Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, dummy. You know what I mean? You think you're doing good, but you're killing everything that's good. There's an economic effect, and we can do that with this fear. We can look at the economics of it, right? We can look at the economics of everything that's going around. So you talk about this fear just take the media control. We'll start there. How about that? Right? What is it, like 75%, something like that? 75% of the media is liberal. So that's MSNBC, CNN, NBC, the Washington Post, the New York Times. Like, it's all liberal. It's all very liberal, right? And it's overwhelming. Like, the amount of power that the left has over the media is overwhelming. Name 5 reputable news outlets that are right-leaning, right? Take as long as you need. Well, let's see, there's Fox News. Yeah, take as long as you need. Name another one. All right? Oh, there's Steven Crowder. Nah, I'm talking about major outlets, right? Name another conservative news outlet other than Fox News. Take as long as you want, right? So economically, that looks pretty bad, right? Not really in favor of our kind of folk, right? But if you look at the tactics of the left, right, and just break it down, it's all weakness. It's all psychobabble nonsense. They are starting from a position of weakness, right? It's like you get Rosie O'Donnell on TV. That was your big move, right? That's what you've got. You've got Rosie O'Donnell. Okay, well, good for you, right? And when you look at it like that, just look at it from an economic standpoint. Like, what's the economic value of Rosie O'Donnell? When was the last time she was in a movie? When was the last time she had a TV show? How long? When she did have a TV show, how long did it last? Why doesn't she still have that TV show today? Dr. Phil still has his show. Oprah Winfrey could have her own show, but she chose to go in a different direction. Like, what? Where's your show? Why do you not still have it? Oh, that's right, because you're not valuable, right? Nobody's listening to you. You get, like, remember the Women's March? There was tens of thousands of people, right? Probably even hundreds of thousands of people that arrived at that Women's March wearing those pink pussy hats. And you can look at that and think like, oh man, that's a lot of people. That's powerful. Well, it would be if you didn't look at like who the speakers were. They literally had a lady there that went to prison for torturing and murdering a gay man, right? And she's like the front runner of power to the women. It's like economically, you're hurting. You're not helping because people see that, right? Those people that were standing there, they all saw it. And any of those people that did any amount of research on who was speaking that day will that question is going to be somewhere in their mind, eating away, causing doubt. Doubt is like the weakness in your knees when you're trying to fight. There's no room for doubt. You know what I mean? And so when you've got these people, and it's like, so there was that lady, and then they had like Ashley Judd. Now think about this, right? Ashley Judd is a lady who got raped by Harvey Weinstein, who allowed herself to get raped by Harvey Weinstein so she could have a part in a movie. Couple of movies, right? Because she was pretty and young. She wanted to be a movie star so bad that she let Harvey Weinstein do disgusting things to her. And now she's angry, and she should be, because that's a tragedy. It's an absolute tragedy what happened to her. But who's she mad at now? She's not mad at Harvey Weinstein. She's not mad at Hollywood liberals. Who is she mad at? The Republicans. Why? Why are you mad at me? I didn't do anything to you. Those are not my people. Harvey Weinstein and all of your friends, like, they're not part of my world. They're part of your world, and they're the ones who did it to you. Furthermore, why are you on stage talking? You haven't been in a movie in a generation. Right? Why are you're the voice of the people? And so everybody at that Women's March would be looking at her like, oh, that's Ashley Judd. She used to be important. Madonna? I mean, with her weird elephant dick arms? Right? That's who's speaking. Economically, it's like, well, who are you people? Who are you people? You're a bunch of washed up, has-been, you know what I mean? I'm sure Madonna can still draw a crowd, but, what? Economical, are you important people? Like, no, I didn't see a single person there who was like valid, like a scholar. You know what I mean? I didn't see anybody who was up there making like scholarly points because they don't have any. The Women's March was a bunch of people demanding rights that they already have. And so people, again, the economics of it and dispelling the fear. We don't have to be afraid of these people. They are weak. You can see it in their arguments, right? 1 year ago, there was a debate going on in America about women's pay and equal pay. And women are only making 70 cents a dollar, for every dollar that a man makes. And now, because they drew so much attention to that, everybody focused in on that problem. And guess what they found? Women make less money because women don't work as much as men. And they choose professions, right? They don't work as much as men because, a lot of women have babies and then they have to take time off of work. And then they choose to go into fields that don't make as much money as, like STEM fields and that sort of thing. They choose other occupations that are more spiritually rewarding to them, and so they make less money, right? And everybody focused in on that problem, and the solution to the problem was, well, you're making less money because, there's this reason, this reason, this reason. So that now, if you talk to a leftist, they will not come out and say, well, women are, making less money because, the patriarchy. Right, because men are deliberately paying them less for the same job. They won't say that anymore. Their argument was weak, and so they know now that not to use that one, and now they've switched it to a more ethereal, like, well, yeah, it's true that women earn less because they have babies and then they have to take time off of work. But the reason why they don't get paid while they're not working is the patriarchy. And it's like, okay, all right, so now you've moved this complete argument into some weird, ethereal nonsense land where nobody can bring any facts to you. So the argument's over and you are weak and everybody sees it. They're weak, right? Our enemy, their main weaponry is weakness and laziness and victimhood. Listen, these are going to be scary times. But that fear should propel you into courage because you have every reason to be courageous. We are the people of the sound mind. These are the same people who, for the last 20 years, got such joy out of calling us science deniers, because we question is the environment, is the weather changing because of man-made causes? Right? Because that's the big thing. The environment's changing. Right? Global warming, whatever. The environment's changing. Okay, well, why is that? Well, because people are driving cars too much. Okay, well, all right, show me that then. Show me the proof. Oh, you're a science denier. Oh, all right. So I'm a science denier. Now that we're talking about biological genders, all of a sudden you're denying science? And you're calling me a science denier? Okay, your position is weak. You lose. And now we won't listen to you anymore. And we will not let you run anything. We're not going to let you control the narrative. You've just proven that you don't actually care about the scientific process. Right? So that fear, listen, it's natural to be afraid. These are scary times. It's fear of the unknown, and there's so many people acting so bizarre that it makes the world that we live in feel like we're in a strange place, and everything is unknown, and there's that fear of the unknown. But that's more reason for you to dig in, right? Rest in the fact that no, there's certain things that are guaranteed. There's certain things that are truth. Right? Stay married. Raise your children. Teach them to read. Be smart. Teach them ethics and morals. Right? Teach them you're either born a man or a woman. And if you get confused about that, that's all right, but you can come and talk to me. Right? Let's talk this out. Let's reason this thing out. Let's reason together. Let's use reason. That's how we get through things. That's how we progress, right? These people on the left, they say, well, we're the progressives. We're the ones trying to cause humanity to progress. Then your idea of progress is letting gay people be married in the eyes of the federal government and justifying pedophilia. That's not progress. That's not progress. right? You say you want to come up with better ways to ensure that everybody gets health care. That is progress. Going about and saying, well, we're just going to make everybody else pay for it, that's not progress. That doesn't work economically, right? You're just talking nonsense words. When you try to justify pedophilia and you know, put gay people on the same, you know, in the same bracket as heterosexual married couples who can procreate, that's not progress. You're just talking nonsense words, right? And coming after our children and you know, these tactics that these people are using, it's like, dude, that's not progress. It's cowardice. It's cowardice. It's lazy thought. You could be afraid of, you know, you see these rallies that Antifa goes to. And what do? Every single time that you see Antifa attacking somebody successfully, it's always from behind. There was that new video yesterday of that that guy standing there, and the Antifa guy like ran up from the side of him and knocked him out. But when you see the good guys, right? It's always a face-to-face battle. If you have to attack somebody from the side or from behind, you're a coward. That's why in the old Western movies it'd be like, oh, you shot your enemy in the back. The other way of saying that is like, dude, you were a coward. You couldn't face your enemy head on. Like, oh, there was those Antifa guys, I think it was in Portland, and they vandalized the Marine Corps recruiting office there. It's like, oh, okay, you did that on a Sunday. Wow, you've got huge balls, mister. The day that there's no Marines there, why don't you go there on Wednesday afternoon? See what happens. Right? You get back to me. You go vandalize that office when there's Marines in there. Then we'll see how big your balls are. Right? That's who these people are. They're cowards. And that's why I'm saying, like, this fear that you have, it is justified. But break it down economically. Look at the economics of it. Like I just said, like that thing with the Marine Corps recruiting office, there's an economic value to that. There's an office and there's nobody in it. There's no Marines in there. There is no strategic value to that assault, right? Put some Marines in there and it becomes a whole new scenario. You put some men in there that can come out there and beat your ass, or women, that can come out and beat your ass, and I bet you're going to think more economically about, you know, the paint that you want to throw around or rocks that you want to throw or whatever. But they won't because they're cowards. Economics. You follow? Hey, you guys write me, right? Go on to archadvocate.com. If this doesn't make any sense what I'm saying, like, let me know. I mean, this is perfect in my head, but like if this doesn't make sense to you, let me know. There's an economics to this. And if you break it down, you see, oh, these people are just cowards, right? I don't have to fear fighting these people because they'll never fight me face to face. They may come up behind me that way, but they're never going to be manly, right? They're never going to be the kind of people that are going to develop into protectors of their own home and protectors of their wife or their children and that sort of things. These are people who are the sick amongst the herd. These are the people that if we were living 200 years ago, these people would have been eaten by lions, right? These are the sick amongst the herd, and they're going to die. They're going to pick the wrong fight eventually. These people that are in Portland, that are just gathering to pray with their friends, one of these days they're going to understand, like, these Antifa people are going to ratchet up their game, and therefore those people, you know, the good guys, they're going to show up armed. And then there's going to be loss of life. And then the dynamic's going to change, and then a lot of other things are going to change in the sort of butterfly effect of how all that's going to happen. And it's pretty easy to see. But they don't think like that. They think like socialists, like, oh, I know what the problem is. I know how to fix poverty. Just give people more money. Just go to the treasury and just print up more money and give it to poor people. Well, that's not how economics works. Well, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna run up and I'm gonna bash somebody on the head with a bike lock who doesn't see it coming. Well, okay, okay, then the store's gonna have to raise the price, right? Right? That's what's gonna happen. You do one thing and another thing happens. You attack people who can't see you coming, then the people that are getting attacked the next time that they show up, they're going to be more ready. They're going to have stronger numbers. They're going to be better, more equipped to defend themselves. These police officers in Portland, there's many of those police officers who are getting sick and tired of their mayor. And they're being told by their mayor to protect Antifa and let those people get attacked. And there's a lot of those policemen and they're like, this is wrong. And what happens then? What happens if there's a revolt within the police department and they decide to drag that mayor out of his office and tar and feather that guy? What happens then? You know what I mean? Or the other, right? What if they do nothing? What if they totally convert and be like, yeah, man, we're going to get these Christian conservative people? Then what? You think those Portland prayer people are just going to stand by? Right? You think they're going to let you arrest them for expressing their freedom of religion, their freedom of speech, their right to defend themselves, their constitutional right to defend themselves? Listen, that whole situation with the Portland Police Department, that can go a lot of different ways, and none of them are good. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say none of them are good. I should say none of them are without horrible consequence, right? Horrific consequence. So if you are feeling fearful about these days that we're in, so do I, man. Right? So do I. I fear for these leftists that cry. You know what I mean? They're distraught and they're going to their doctors and saying, I'm so depressed because Donald Trump is president. It's like, man, I'm fearful for you because you are so weak. You're so weak that, man, when the lion starts chasing the herd, you're going to be dinner. Right? Do you understand that reference? Sorry if this is for everybody who gets it. Like, if you go to Africa, right, and you see a, I don't know, I guess what would you call it, a flock or a sleuth or a herd of, I don't know, impalas, right, antelopes, African antelopes. Well, when the lions go to chase them, the whole herd starts running, and most of them are faster than lions, except for the sick and the old, or the too young, right? When that lion finally gets a hold of an animal, it's because for some reason that animal was too slow. And it's always like it's either because it's sick or because it's too old or too young. That's how it works. That's how the thinning of the herd works. The ones who aren't strong enough get ate up. And you look at these leftists and everything that they do, it's all weakness, all of it. You've got Maxine Waters, who is a stupid person. I'm not just saying that because I hate her guts. I'm saying that because, if you go back in all of the things that she's ever said, it's like, this person's a congressperson? You know what I mean? Like, our political system has become a joke because there's Maxine Waters in it, and then there's that lady from Florida who dresses like a rodeo clown. It's like, dude, you people are weak. These people that are being paraded on television, like Rosie O'Donnell, again, it's like, dude, look at the economics of that. It's weak. These people are weak. And now they want to start introducing the idea of accepting pedophilia. It's like, no, we're not doing that. We are not doing that. Furthermore, we're not giving up our guns. We're not giving up our religion. We're not giving up states' rights. We're not doing any of that stuff. We are going to return to normal. And that's why you listen again. I know I've already banged on this drum, but look, I know a lot of you guys, you think like, oh, I'm not going to vote in November. I understand. But if you do not vote for anything, you can vote for whatever you want, but when you do not vote, you are giving your vote to somebody else. Somebody else is going to vote for you. You can't let that happen. Well, I don't believe the system works. Okay, then there's no skin off of your nose for showing up. Right? I know you don't believe the system works. There's a big part of me that doesn't either. But you have to vote, man. You have to vote. These people are making their move. Do you want to have the freedom of speech? Do you not see that the freedom of speech is under attack right now? Alex Jones was just deplatformed. I'm not a fan of Alex Jones either, but listen, that's a violation. And we have yet to see like if there is actual legal precedent yet, because again, we're in unprecedented times. There's never been a Google. There's never been a Facebook and a YouTube and a Spotify and an iTunes. There's never been this before. So when we approach the First Amendment as it applies to Alex Jones, we're all in weird territory. Get Trey Gowdy, get Jay Sekulow, get Mark Levin, who is a constitutional attorney, a constitutional scholar. Get him on the case because we need to figure this out and quick. Because a man's voice was just silenced and we don't really, as a society, we don't really know what to do about this. Because, that's the argument is, well, those are private companies, they can do whatever they want. Well, are they? Are they? Because once you are, we do have laws, and, the law states like once you are a publisher, once you are regarded as a publisher, then you can be sued for libel. And the minute you decide to silence one voice, Alex Jones in this case, and allow literally ISIS, a terrorist organization, to spew their crap, and the Jew-hating, anti-Semitic to the core, Louis Farrakhan, you allow him to run his platform, then now we have some laws that we can approach, right? And no matter what happens, win or lose, those companies are going to be on their heels. They're going to be on the defensive from the get-go because they're weak. And their tactics are to try to silence people, right? The tactics of righteousness is to get people talking. The tactics of darkness is to get people silent. And therefore they are weak, right? They are weak. You want to take this to a spiritual level? Me too. Let's talk about it. Let's say that silencing people is the acts of the devil, right? Say the devil did it. Oh, I'm afraid of the devil because he's the ultimate form of evil. No. Go back through your Bible and look at every time Satan appears in the Bible. Guess what you're going to find? Every single time he's getting his ass kicked. That's who the devil is. Why? Because he's weak. His tactics are lying and mooching and being manipulative and silencing people. Right? And attacking the defenseless. Those are the tactics of the devil. There's nothing to fear. He's a defeated foe. And his only weaponry are all things that are weakness. Right? There's nothing to fear. That fear that you feel, you should be able to convert that to courageousness very quickly and very easily. And that's my prayer for you, is that you do that and you meditate on that and find your method. Mine is to reduce it to economic principles. Maybe you can start there. Maybe you already have your method. Maybe you need to find your own. I don't know. But like if you don't have a method of taking the venom out of these things, start with the economics of it, right? Look at Rosie O'Donnell and try to place a value on her. Right? This is going back to game theory. Right? This is Blaise Pascal, who's probably my favorite mathematician. Blaise Pascal invented game theory, and where it started was he and this other mathematician sat down with a chessboard and they started playing chess. And then what they would do is they would stop randomly. They would have some sort of thing that would let them know, like, hey, stop randomly. And then they would take whatever pieces that were still on the table, and they would figure out mathematically how much value each one of them had, right? Well, if you only have, 5 pawns left, but you still have both of your bishop, you know what I mean? Then the values have to adjust, that sort of thing. And that's literally how game theory began, right? Placing a value on each of your pieces, each of your players, right? So when I say place a value on Rosie O'Donnell, that's what I'm saying. Like, look at her and look at the game, right? Look at all the pieces on the board and say, well, how valuable is Rosie O'Donnell? The fact that CNN is rolling out Rosie O'Donnell, was Suzanne Summers not available? Was she working on her Kegel? Is it Kegels? Is it Kegel? Right? Was she doing 5-minute abs? Like, was there no other washed up, like, ex-famous person? Was Steven Seagal out of town? Like, why are you rolling out Rosie O'Donnell? Why is it that that's your CNN? Like, that's your big move, Jake Tapper? That's your big move? Rosie O'Donnell. Huh. Right? I get, that if they keep doing that, eventually they're going to have somebody who's like a Kevin Spacey, where like they'll have him on TV, and then, weeks or months later it'll be find out, oh, this guy got busted for having a bunch of porn, and now he's going to prison, or, child porn. And now he's going to go sit in the room next to, Jared Fogle. And then it's like, see, that's who you people are, because you're weak. That's who those people are. They're weak. And they can't get scholars. You know what I mean? They can't get, like, people that we need to hear from. You're getting Rosie O'Donnell. Why? Because all those years she was studying philosophy or world religion or politics? No. She's a washed-up actress who's just spouting off at the mouth. Why did you get Robert De Niro up there? F Trump! You're weak. Your position is weak and your players are weak. Therefore, we've got the upper hand. Therefore, go and be courageous. The Lord is with you. That refreshing feeling that you get when you hear reason, when you listen to a Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, or you listen to Ravi Zacharias, or you listen to, I don't know, who's a good voice out there. Listening to Mark Levin talk about the Constitution. I mean, that guy's been studying that document his whole life. You listen to him talk to you, it's like, it's refreshing. It feeds your mind. It's like, oh, that makes perfect sense. There's a reason why that is so absorbable. Absorbable? Is that a word? There's a reason why that when that meets your mind, your brain accepts it, and it's because it's God. You were built for reason. That's why it feels so good when you get it. It's from the Lord. And when you have that, when you have reason, the Lord is with you. The Lord is a big fan of reason, right? And the opposite of reason is lack of reason in this case, right? The opposite of when you see, as I was saying in the beginning, like when you see 10 different people can look at like the Mona Lisa, and all 10 of them will see something different. That's a beautiful and amazing thing. But when you see people that are like, oh, I look at Antifa and I see the fact that they're cowards and they only attack from behind and they're beating up on old people in wheelchairs. When they look at that, they think, yeah, man, that's going to teach those fascists. What? I'm looking at the same thing you are. How is it that you see that? That's what you see. You see those people as being courageous and defending, or bringing the fight to some fascists. How is that what you see? I can't see that. Like, but you see what I'm saying? Like, part of it's beautiful and wonderful when it's like everybody can look at it and see all different things. Like, that concept is beautiful. The problem is that some people see the wrong things. They'll see things that aren't even there. Like in that case. So there's, there's the sort of yin and yang concept there. Like, some of it's good and some of it's bad. Same thing with reason. Reason is good. It's good for you. It's good for you to have it because you having reason is also good for me. It helps us all move along. And the opposite side of that is people who have complete lack of reason. Like Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. It's like, you talk about socialism, but it's like, you don't actually, like when we bring you to task on the reason, right? When we get talking about how economics actually works and what we know to be true in the science of economics, and when we start talking about that, you start losing your shit, start muddling and tripping over your own words, then you lack reason, right? And that's dangerous. That's evil, especially when it's people who hold high office, right? Here's Bernie Sanders, a man who's never had a job in his life. He's never been employed in his life except to work in government service, to work in a bureaucracy. He's a high-paid DMV employee. You know what I mean? And he's up there talking nonsense, and it's like, you want to run the country on this? No, we're not doing that. Anyways, Rosie O'Donnell, look, your voices are being stifled. Don't be afraid, right? We still have the free market, and the free market will open up a new way. There used to be no Facebook, right? It used to be just MySpace. There used to be this monolithic company, right, called MySpace. And guess what? A competitor came along and put them out of business. There used to be AOL, right? America Online. And then a monolith, that was the big company. And then another company called Google came along and put them in the dirt, right? To think that that's not going to happen again, that's not mathematically a suitable thought. You may be right, but there's no reason for you to believe that, because in a free market, in a nation full of free people, there's always going to be another competitor. There's going to be somebody else who comes along and does it better and cheaper and more fairly. That's the beauty of the free market. That's the beauty of capitalism. Right? And we are capitalists. And therefore, yeah, go ahead. You shut Alex Jones down. What have you accomplished? You got me talking about Alex Jones. I don't want to talk about Alex Jones. I'm not a fan. I don't dislike him, but I don't like the guy. I don't like him or dislike him. He's just some guy that's out there doing way better in life than I am financially. You know what I mean? He's got a show. I want my show to be as big or bigger than his show. Which, by the way, if you want to do that, you can go to archadvocate.com, arch-advocate.com, and give me some money. But you know what I'm saying? Like, now you've got me talking about Alex Jones. And you've got everybody who's ever watched Alex Jones that is squarely on his side now. You've got people who hated Alex Jones that are now coming to his defense. What have you done economically? What have you accomplished by silencing this man's voice? Did you bring people to your way of thinking? Then show me one. Show me one person who was already, show me one person who was all for Alex Jones or didn't care at all and is now on your side, right? So you can't use anybody who already previously hated Alex Jones and thought that he needed to go away. Show me the person who was just not even on the fence, but just wasn't even on the field at all. Guys like me, I didn't care about Alex Jones before this, but now I am squarely on his side. That's an economic principle. There's mathematics that can explain how that happened. Congratulations, Facebook, Spotify, Apple. Congratulations. You have pushed me squarely into your opponent's court. And now I'm against you. What are you going to do? You're going to silence me next? I will find a way. I will discuss with my listenership, like, listen, if this show goes down, then I'm going to reach out to you and tell you where the show can be found. I'll just rename it. You want to shut down my Twitter page? I'll start another one. I've done it before. I can do it again. I'm not afraid of the work, right? I'm not afraid of being so. You can't silence me. I was given the right to speak by God. You cannot silence me. There's nothing you can do. I can go to England and say whatever I want. Not because I'm an American, but because I was made in the image of God. I will say whatever I want, even if it's wrong. I'll say whatever I want because this is my life and I'm in charge of it, and that's who you are. You are a creation. You were made in the image of God, and everything that you have is from God. No one can take that away from you. No one can infringe upon that. And it took thousands of years before mankind finally wrote a document where it said, like, these truths are self-evident. God gave you this voice. Speak. God gave you this fight or flight response. It's in your DNA. Therefore, defend yourselves. Mostly from a government gone corrupt. These things are from the Lord. And they're yours. And they're precious. And you must defend them even with your lives. And even if it costs you your life. Right? How many men have laid down their lives that you might be free today? Well, guess what? From time to time, you may find yourself in that position where you have to sacrifice your life so that future generations can be free. And it's worth it. And then you get to be a hero, right? You get to go down in history as the one who laid his life down for his friends. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lays his life down for his friends. Amen. That is the show, the Arch Advocate Podcast, arch-advocate.com. Check it out, and I will talk to you tomorrow.